The NFL offseason is here. And to get ready for it, let's look at who are some of the best free agents in all of football and where the best landing spots would be for them. Let's start with Aaron Jones. I have the best landing spot for him being the Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas is going to need a little bit of work on that offensive line as well, but I think giving Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, a running back that you can trust and still a very strong running back, I think that is... It seems like that's the way that these guys are going to want to go. And Vegas very obviously doesn't have that in their room right now. So give them a guy who I think still can put up some pretty good numbers. Aaron Jones going to Vegas, I think would be one of the better landing spots for him. And honestly, the best landing spot still might be just don't leave Minnesota. I think that team is so close to being a very dangerous football team right now. At 14, Dre Greenlaw. I have him with the Arizona Cardinals. I think when you look at Arizona's need for some veteran leadership and just talent on the defensive side of the football and their mucho salary cap space, I think Greenlaw, institutional knowledge in the NFC West, I think all of that works out pretty well. And so I think Greenlaw going to Arizona actually makes quite a bit of sense for him to just kind of be the guy with that particular football club. At 13, Cam Robinson, offensive tackle. I have him going to New England. Again, the Patriots have a ton of salary cap space and they can spend it. So, and they need to on the offensive line. So I think this one makes all the sense in the world of Cam Robinson going and trying to help solidify that offensive line with the New England Patriots. At 12, Hassan Reddick. I also have him going to the Vegas Raiders. Full disclosure, I am a Raider fan. I promise this isn't going to have too much of a Raider lean on. It's not just going to be like every other one. Like, oh yeah, Raiders. They have a lot of holes. So, but I think having him on the opposite end of a Max Crosby pass rush with Wilkins, if he can stay healthy up the middle, that gives you a pretty solid defensive front for Pete Carroll and company to build off of. At 11, it is Zach Bond. It's the Eagles. They don't traditionally spend on this particular position, but he had a career year with a team and ended up getting an interception in the Super Bowl. I don't think you get better than that. So I think he goes and stays, actually, with the Philadelphia Eagles. At 10, Josh Sweat, the edge rusher. I have him going to Cincinnati. The Bengals have a bit of an issue on the defensive side, and I think pairing him with Hendrickson is quite the group that you can cause some problems with and maybe help to solidify things on the defensive side of the football. At 9, Sam Darnold. The best spot for him is staying in Minnesota. No team has been able to get the most out of Sam Darnold in the way that the Vikings could, and they still have a lot of salary cap space to play with. They have a very well put together football team, and I think that they have an opportunity to really make some noise in the NFC if they get the quarterback spot right. You can argue Sam Darnold maybe isn't the best fit for Minnesota, but for just looking at the free agents today, it's them for him. At number 8, Ronnie Stanley, the offensive tackle, going from Baltimore to Chicago, another team that has a lot of salary cap space and a rookie quarterback that they are desperate to protect. I would imagine Ronnie Stanley tries to cash in and ends up locking down on the outside there for Chicago. At 7, Amari Cooper. I have him going to Washington. I think that this would be a good spot, probably just like a one-year kind of prove-it deal because it went so bad out in Buffalo, but still give Jaden Daniels a bit of a security blanket to work with. Terry McLaurin still can be the number one guy, but in a very prolific offense that Washington kind of projects to be, I think having Amari Cooper be able to put up some big numbers actually makes quite a bit of sense. So I have Amari Cooper going to Washington. DJ Reed at number 6, the cornerback. I have him going to Green Bay. The Packers still desperately need some help in their secondary, and I think that he can be someone who maybe isn't like, okay, now you've got defense figured out, but that is a very big piece, and the Packers do have some salary cap space to work with. At 5, Khalil Mack. I have him going to the Detroit Lions. They absolutely had a phenomenal defense that kind of fell apart when Hutchinson went down with that injury, and so I think they just need to add a little bit of depth there, and Khalil Mack, I don't know if he is number one guy anymore in a pass rush. I'm fairly certain he's not, but his talents and probably getting a little bit more of the spotlight, or I guess getting a little less spotlight, honestly, with Hutchinson getting so much of the attention, frees him up to still be a bit of a game wrecker as an edge rusher. At 4, Chris Godwin, wide receiver. I have him going to the Giants. I think having him go to be a kind of veteran leader guy with Malik Neighbors helps a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of question marks around what he can do because of the serious nature of the injury that he just had. So go to a team where the expectations aren't all that high and immediately have a real good 1-2 setup there with Malik Neighbors, and then either a rookie quarterback coming in or one of the veterans that they're able to bring in. But I think that's an okay landing spot for him. At 3, Javon Holland at safety. I have him going to the LA Chargers. Pair him up at safety with Derwin James, and you have one of the best, I think, kind of safety units in the National Football League. And for a defense, or for a team that is kind of built on defense a little bit, I think having that at the top end really would give a lot of teams some problems. And I think you can get really creative, especially with a lot of mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, when you have two safeties as good as those guys. At 2, Trey Smith. I have him going to the Seattle Seahawks. Smith, a guard. And the offensive line in Seattle needs a significant amount of help. And one area that they really struggled in was running the football. And so if you can get Trey Smith to just bulldoze a hole right through the middle of the interior of a line, I think that really does kind of help things out for how Seattle, I think, wants to play football, and also maximize the talented football players that they have on that team. And at number 1, it is Tee Higgins. The best spot for him is to stay in Cincinnati. They have an elite level offense, and to be able to be a contributor on an offense that good, I think you have to take advantage of that. And if you go to New England, yeah, you can get paid. And like Cincinnati can still pay him, but you can probably get more elsewhere. But you are not going to be in a better situation. And so I still think you can make a lot of money, but still be in a very, very good spot with an offense that, if they can just get the defense figured out a little bit, is going to be a team that can really make some noise in the AFC next year. So that is the NFL free agency preview that we have for you today. Coming up on the show next week, we are going to be looking at one free agent for every team. So looking at what they need, looking at the salary cap situation, and trying to piece together a couple of things for those teams. That's kind of where we're looking at right now for NFL free agency preview, as we are working our way toward the start of the NFL free agency period.